Hello and a very good evening to you. 10,000 London school teachers went on the march today in a massive show of strength over their pay battle. They hired Arsenal Football Stadium for a rally and warned of more school strikes unless the dispute ends soon. At the same time, parents went to Westminster to lobby MPs who debate the dispute tonight. In a moment, we'll be talking to the Education Minister, Chris Patten. First, two reports, starting with Paul Larsman.
Today's half-day's strike and march from Highbury Fields to Arsenal Football Stadium was part of a nationwide series of National Union of Teacher rallies designed to emphasise solidarity.
Do you think this sort of march and rally will actually sway the government?
It's difficult to know what sways Mrs Thatcher, but she is a political animal, and at the end of the day, yes, she'll be swayed because teachers have got votes, their families have got votes, and so have their friends. Teachers are spread throughout the whole community, and unquestionably the massive correspondence they're getting from parents demanding that they take action is also helpful.
Today's action means that more than 3,000 London schools are either closed or severely disrupted. Nearly 1 million children are missing their lessons.
The school children won't get better lessons unless they get better teachers. The teaching profession is at the moment that we're not getting teachers in. I'm a head teacher in Brent and we can't find teachers because they're not coming into the profession.
But you're prepared for them to go without lessons in order to get your pay rise?
Well, I think more children will suffer if we don't go on strike.
I mean, many young teachers cannot afford to really stay in the profession, and that's got the most serious implications for the children in the future.
The NUT claim, if paid in full, would mean an immediate £1,200 annual rise on basic grades.
And I've got one half-time score rather. NUT and teachers, 1,200. Keith Joseph, nil. They've offered Keith Joseph a free transfer, but nobody will take him.
A number of parents were in the crowd at Arsenal, but most of their support was today concentrated in a lobby of MPs.
Parents added their support to the teachers' campaign with a rally at Central Hall in Westminster. It was organised by the recently formed All London Parents Action Group, who are pressing for the government to settle the dispute and invest more in state education.
We are very distressed to see the lack of funding in our schools, and it is necessary to have committed teachers who are professional. I don't want my children taught by demoralised, disgruntled teachers.
All London MPs were invited to the meeting. Only one Tory attended, and although he spoke to parents, Ealing North MP Harry Greenway, a one-time head teacher, was against the day of action.
It's very sad that a lot of children are losing time at school. As you can see, they're all about here. Those children ought to be in school getting their education. Second thing is that it is equally sad, I think, that teachers are out of school when they ought to be in there doing their job of educating these children.
Then it was time to march on the Commons for a lobby of MPs, and they couldn't have chosen a better day, with the House full for the Prime Minister's statement on the leaked Westlands letter. And although the children were missing lessons for the day, they were learning fast about the language of industrial disputes.
Why are you here this afternoon?
Because we're on strike and we think we should have a better chance.
Seeing as our teachers are striking and haven't got enough money, why shouldn't we strike?
You don't really care about your teacher's pay, do you? You just want a day off school, don't you?
No. Yeah, if we miss school, we won't get our education, we won't get a job.
Well, Minister, jobs or not, the dispute is seriously affecting the education of school children. Isn't it time that the government did something about this situation?
Well, we have been trying to do something because we want to see an early end to this dispute. We've put an awful lot more money on the table, £1.25 billion, which unfortunately the NUT, who were rallying today, haven't been prepared to discuss. Fortunately, the majority of the unions now, those representing the majority of teachers, are back in negotiation, and there are very important talks taking place at ACAS tomorrow.
But those sort of arguments we've heard before, they're not a great deal of comfort to worried parents, and there are an awful lot of worried parents now.
I think what should be of some comfort to worried parents is that at least the majority of the teachers' unions are negotiating once again. We went through a terrible period during which, when the NUT had the majority on the teachers' panel, they wouldn't even talk around a table. At least now there are talks taking place. I don't want to say anything tonight which might jeopardise the talks at ACAS tomorrow, but they're very important. I just wish that some of those parents who we saw just now had spent at least part of the afternoon urging the NUT to get back into negotiation about how to make the best use of the very substantial investment that we want to make in improving teachers' pay and promotion prospects.
But it does rather look as though you're waiting for a split within the teachers' unions in order to resolve the situation.
No, what we're waiting for is everybody to get back to negotiate. At the moment, those who represent a majority of the teachers are prepared to negotiate, and that's a very considerable step forward. Of course, they'll press their arguments extremely vigorously and eloquently, as they have with me, both today and on other occasions. But the important thing is to get back to negotiation, because unless we do that, we won't be able to get anywhere. We won't be able to solve this very damaging dispute.
Very briefly, how long is it going to take to get back to those negotiations?
Well, they're resumed tomorrow. I would like to see the dispute end tomorrow, or at least next week, and we really do need to do that as quickly as we can.
Thank you very much indeed.